my word for it. That looks like a lion track there, but it's almost impossible to see. Only one though. Have a look at that side. If there's any better tracks in softer soil? No. Okay, let's just check. There's a couple of big game parts here that they do utilize. All of them on particularly hard soil. Just have a quick look. There's a bit of softer soil there. Well, elephants walk down here, and that's about it. And you can barely see the elephant tracks, so you can imagine how hard it is to see lion tracks. Well, keeps our tracking sharp, having to track after the rain. Okay, well, I'm going to continue to check very carefully around here while we do that. Jamie is off meandering. Let's see where she's off to.
I am meandering and I'm afraid I don't have anything. The hyena cubs all settled down and didn't look like they were going to get up to terribly much. So I've left our hyena den for now. We'll keep paying regular visits to see what they get up to. But I don't know what I'm doing with the rest of my morning. What should we do, Dave? Should we look for some elephants? Yes, let's go look for some elephants. Hopefully Brent manages to catch up with the Nkuhumas. It would be lovely to see them again. Just watch this drongo. Oh. A fork-tail drongo, always a fascinating little bird. I think it was just hunting for grasshoppers or something similar. Because it's relaxed again. There was a chance I thought maybe it might be mobbing a snake. Just the way that it was fluttering down regularly. But no. I think it was just after an insect. Fork-tail drongos are one of the bravest creatures out here. They are so thoroughly determined. They'll chase and mob birds much larger than themselves. I've seen them mob snakes before. And just generally, sometimes they'll chase other things as well, especially when they're together in a group. We had a fork-tail drongo because I used to do, in the job that I worked at before I started working here, twice a week we'd go out and we'd bush clear. So clear away all of the places where overgrazing had caused bush encroachment of certain tree species. And naturally, that sort of stirred up lots of the insects that were around there. And there was a fork-tail drongo that learnt this about us. And in the same way that fork-tail drongos follow elephants and buffalo and swoop down and catch the insects that they disturb, this fork-tail drongo would come and sit with us while we were bush clearing, cutting down trees with pangas and saws and so on, swoop down and catch the insects that we disturbed. And he was there, like clockwork, every single time we came out. So they're smart little things as well. In case we needed any more evidence, the bird famous for imitating meerkat alarm calls at certain times of the year in the desert to send them scurrying away, leaving behind their nice fresh kills for the drongo to swoop in and take. So a very intelligent little bird. Off he goes, or she. I've also been visiting all of the puddles on Shabam Road in the hope that we might see some bullfrog action, but it seems as though they've all gone quiet here. No more frantic fights between them. I was also hoping to see if we could see those bullfrog tadpole frog combination, the froglets, with their legs but still with their tails, that were trying to climb. It was out of this puddle that's now a proper puddle again, but they apparently took the opportunity to make their escape from the ants. There's an interesting question. Hello to Colleen in Texas. Colleen, what is the loudest bird? What is the loudest bird? I don't know off the top of my head which bird is capable of producing the loudest, scientifically the loudest calls. Some of them have very, very piercing calls. Pearl-spotted owl calls carry quite far, owlet calls. The deep, booming, almost raw sound that ostriches are capable of producing also travel quite far. You've got the inevitable trill of the crested barbet. I can't see it though, I can hear it. Kirsty says hardy-da. Okay, let's continue on there, Dave, because I think it's invisible. A hardy-da, ibis. Those are pretty loud, especially at 5 o'clock in the morning. What else is very loud? Scops owls are quite loud at night, but maybe that's just because it's so quiet at night, they sound loud. Ground hornbills. Egyptian geese. That is a very good one. Kirsty suggested. Egyptian geese are also very vocal birds and it's very loud. Spur fowls, when they want to be, can be pretty noisy birds, especially first thing in the morning or as they're starting to go to bed at night. And then, for some reason, there's something about the call of the orange-breasted bush shrike that gets to me. And I mean, it's such a beautiful call, and it shouldn't, but it's the... spiderweb. Straight to the face. I don't know if you can see it, Dave. I'm literally now wearing a face mask of a spiderweb. Sorry about that, spider. That was a proper full-on web across the mouth and the nose. I wonder where its inhabitant went. Sorry, spider, wherever you may be. Presumably somewhere on me. Distraction. Okay, so we're talking about the orange-breasted bush shrike. But there's one that sits outside our camp and just goes constantly during their breeding season. And I don't know, it just gets a little bit repetitive. Woodland's kingfisher are also quite loud. That chip chirr. Siberia Zumi, you say guinea fowl. They certainly make a racket when they want to, particularly when they're alarm calling. And Janet, you say... I've forgotten what you said, my apologies. The go-away bird. Yes, absolutely. The go-away bird makes... I don't know how loud that is. I suppose it is quite loud. Whee! What other birds have you heard that sound very loud on our live safaris? Or perhaps whilst listening to the Djuma Dam camera? And as always, send through those answers or questions that you have to ask on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Okay. Sorry, I've obviously been distracted by tracks, as you may have noticed, by the fact that I veered completely off the road. That could actually have been a really beautiful track, but it's not all that clear. Dave, can you see which one did I want to show you that came out the clearest? Actually, I think it's that one there. Let me just hop out and show you exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at a honey badger's tracks, and I want to show you how we know that, because it's showing through quite beautifully clearly. We hardly ever see honey badgers, which is quite unfortunate. Let me remove my earpiece. or else I will break it, and then Connor will be cross. We hardly ever see honey badgers anymore. Whoa! Microphone. It's been quite a long time, but the giveaway, because honey badger tracks look very, very similar to porcupine tracks. They're a very similar size and a very similar shape. But with porcupine tracks, you get the trail of the quills behind the track itself. But most importantly with honey badger tracks, can you see this one, Dave? Only just. Can you see this? The edge of it. Okay, let's do this one. Let's do this one. It's not as clear, but it'll do. It might help Dave out ever so slightly with my poor parking. So this is the track of the honey badger, and over here, these little impressions in the sand are its claws, which you won't see nearly as clearly in the track of a porcupine, and they're not as far apart, as far away from the top of the toes. So honey badgers have got these large claws that they use to dig open either beehives or termite mounds or whatever they happen to be after. And they're far more prominent than that of a porcupine. So you've got quite a lot between the end toe and where the claws fall. So our honey badger went for a stroll along this road last night. That would be a lovely surprise. I have not seen a honey badger. I don't even remember the last time I saw a honey badger. I think it was on Cheetah Plains, and I don't think we got it on camera. We see them more commonly on the bushwalks, actually. Perhaps Stef can find you one for you. No pressure, Stef. Speaking of Stef, he hasn't found a honey badger for you, but he's found an equally exciting seepline.
Alright, I'll find you a honey badger, Jamie, no problem. We're on it, just for you, if you wouldn't mind finding me a flamingo. Alright, I am actually on a seepline. Now, we talk about seeplines all the time, but we hardly ever show you what a seepline is. You know, why is it called a seepline? Well, what's this thing called a seepline? Now, firstly, seeplines are demarcated on the upslope side by this tree here. It's the silver cluster leaf, and they grow on bands at the top edge of a seepline. Where these trees stop, you then get this particular grass. This is Eragrostis gummiflua, the gum grass, and the seepline exists on this grass, the gum grass. And where you find this grass growing at the base of the line of trees, not this particular tree, but there's a line of these trees that extend now going off in that direction, is where the water starts to come out of the ground at the end of summer. And we've got a place like that just here. Now, as you can see here on the ground, there is no water just yet, but you can see that it's fairly wet. Now, that in itself is not remarkable because it has been raining, but have a look here where it's hit the road. You can see that the water has started to come out of the ground here and is now flowing. It doesn't look like it's flowing much until I dig a small hole and I'll show you how quickly it fills up. Have a look at how much water is coming out of this seepline. Isn't that incredible? And this is the second most important water source in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, the seeplines. Vitally important to conserve these wetland areas. It's this that gives the grass the ability to last deep into the dry season. And as I was just telling my friend Brian here, this particular seepline that extends up in that direction over there is one of the most healthy of the seeplines here at Djuma. It's got no interference on it whatsoever. And the last few buffalo that were killed by lions in this particular area at the end of the drought last year were killed on these seeplines. This was where they were coming to find grass and were coming to find the ability to survive these dry seasons. And if that isn't testimony to how important these seeplines are, then I don't know what is. This particular road is actually a good example of a road that's in a slightly bad place that we should possibly look at moving. You can see here that the road is very wet and the water is moving down the road. Now, water is sticky. It's sticky by design. It's actually sticky by magnetism. And because of this cohesion that water has, it starts to pull out the water in these seeplines. And especially when you've got a a flow that is of a velocity that's higher than what it should be, it can drain a seeplant much quicker than what it needs to be drained. In other words, it'll have an effect on late season water in this particular area. So it's probably a good area that good thing that at some point we look at closing this road down and moving it either further down the slope to below the seeplant or further up the slope on the other side of the seeplant. But that's just one of those things. It comes with effective sort of bush management out here, and it's something that we are, and Djuma is, and the Sabi Sands is very good at doing. Now Charles, you just asked me a question that I was unable to hear all the details of, so Kirsty, if you wouldn't mind just... So would animals know to come get water from a seeplant is the question from Troll, and yes, absolutely. Now, in areas like this where the water is not lying, where the water is not actually lying on the surface, it's difficult to get water. But the thing that we have out here is elephant. Now come with me quickly, and I'm going to show you what happens in a seeplant or just adjacent to a seeplant that will give animals the ability to get water. So elephant obviously uproot trees, and they do this for a variety of reasons. Mainly though, it's for food. So elephant will move along, they will rip out some water, and what that will create is it creates a depression. Water coming out of the seeplant, just as it did when I dug that little hole, fills up, and these pans, these natural pans, are what is created. Now here we have a natural pan. An elephant dug this, used it as a wallow, and now we have a pan that is full of water from that seeplant, and this will hold water for much longer. Well, it should hold water for much longer than what the road will, obviously, because it's deeper, but also because the elephant and the warthog, hippopotamus and rhino come and bath often in these wallows. They line the wallow with clay, which is impermeable. And so because it's impermeable, the water battles to seep back into the ground and lies in these depressions as terrestrial water, as water that lies on top of the ground. And this is what gives the ability to animals to follow these seeplants, not only for good grass but also for good water. And that's what we have right here. Isn't that cool? And this will just get bigger and bigger to a point. Obviously, as more and more things come and basically come and bath in here, they make it deeper, and they also add in a layer of clay every time, and eventually what will happen is it'll actually sink down to the water table, and it will then become a permanent pan. The thing permanent out here in this part of the Sabi Sands is relative, in that most pans will dry up here by the end of October, beginning of November, and we'll rely on pumped water to give these animals their hydration needs. Quite simply, even though this park is 8.5 million acres big, it's still not big enough to allow seasonal migrations of animals to occur when all the water does dry up, like last year. Incredible, eh? You can actually see how much water is coming down right here. Taraya, all the way from New Jersey, you've asked me if the drought is officially over. Taraya, let me show you this movement of water here that is coming out of the seeplant, and look how much water is actually coming out of the ground. Just incredible, hey? Is the drought officially over? Ooh, that is a difficult question for me to answer, Taraya. Because these droughts, these types of weather phenomenon take years to come into effect, they also actually take years to come out of effect. So you have these dips and troughs in wet season, dry season movements. Are we in a dry seasonal movement at the moment? I still think so, personally. I think that we haven't seen the end of it. Have we reached the crest and are now on the other side and will return to a wetter cycle? Possibly. Are we going to have another dry year? Well, so far no. We've had almost 3 times the amount of rainfall this year than we had last year, and almost double the amount of rain this year as we had 2 years ago. So it would seem from a very short space of time that we're heading into a slightly wetter cycle, at least returning to normal from a very dry period. So is the drought officially over? I'm going to say not just yet. Are we on the way to recovery? Most definitely, in my opinion, I think so. We are on our way to recovery. The fact is that we are going to have floods here again. It is a fact of this place. It seems to happen every 10 to 17 years or so, depending on what knowledge source you read, and we go through these 10-year cycles, wet and dry. What it like on a 100-year cycle, on a 1,000-year cycle, on a 10,000-year cycle, 100,000-year cycle, difficult to say. We've had it easy for the last 200,000 years or so. This place used to be covered in a bunch of ice, and before the ice came a bunch of volcanic eruptions that covered this land in lava, and before that was a desert where this was all just sand dunes with no life on it whatsoever. Have a look at this. I would say that even though we had a little bit of a lesser rainfall than usual, this is pretty balmy considering lakes of molten lava, deserts of burning sand, or the bottom of an ocean, to be quite honest. So I think that we're living in a pretty epic time in this place's history. So from a geologic time, I don't know. My fly swatter. All right, now Marco, you've just asked me how is the location of our dams determined here. Marco, generally speaking, we'll put dams into drainage lines. So these seeps will go into or coalesce into something a little bit bigger than that, and that we call a drainage line. Generally speaking, we will dam up these drainage lines, and we will use that as a reservoir for water, mainly because the dam needs to be a little bit waterproof, and for that you need to be in an area where there's clay. So you go down to either the bedrock or the clay area, you put a dam wall across it, either earthen or, if it's small enough, they may even build something out of concrete and stone. Generally speaking, dams in this area are earthen dams. So that's one type of dam and reservoir inside drainage lines. The next type of dam is usually in front of camps. So a camp like Vuyatela or Galago has a pumped area. It'll be much smaller. They used to be cribs almost. Now they're just a pan, a man-made pan with a pumped pipe. And that is to attract animals to the front of the lodge in the dry season, And that's just to give people sitting on the deck during the middle of the day chance to see animals. It's just one of the most delightful pastimes to do, is to lie on the deck of your lodge with a cold beer or gin and tonic in your hand and watch herd after herd of animal come down and bath and bathe and go crazy. We've got a camera that is on the Vuyatela Dam, and quite often during our driest season or during the dry season here, we have herds of animals moving in front of that camera. As I'm sure many of the chat rooms will be able to tell you when it starts to get really good, at what time of the year, but for me probably from the end of May all the way through to the middle of November, these pumped pans in front of the lodge, and in particular the one that we have a camera on, is fantastic. And there's a few of these around the world as well, which is quite nice. Oof, the flies are out in force. Now, while I beat myself to death with this stick and we try and get rid of the host of flies that are following us around, why don't we go and see what Brent's up to, who's just arrived at the dam himself.
Oh, we have arrived at the Buffelshoek waterhole, and I think I have spotted a tortoise. On the opposite bank there, Craig, zoom. There we go. Is it? No, it's a terrapin. He's basking, waiting for the sun to come out. Just a very big terrapin. Of course, a very happy terrapin now that the Buffelshoek waterhole is now full to the, well, not quite to the brim, but it is very full. No hippos this morning. That was worth a check. Oh no, there's a hippo. Well, there was a hippo nostril. Now I've got some bad news. The tracks, from what I could see, it was only one in Kahuma lioness, and they have vacated and gone to the north to Buffalo's Hook, and I've checked down the boundary. There's no more tracks so far. Oh, the hippo's playing games with Craig. Now the reason they're up in that particular area is because it is a little bit shallower there, so they won't have to sort of do the dancing act. If they were up closer to us, it's probably going to be too deep for them to stand in, and that's why they are further up there. Oh, there we go, the sun's coming out. I think it's time for some birding. Of course I need to get to that magical 100 bird species before the 12th, and we're on 31 bird species so far. Misty morning like this, sun about to pop out. I think he's going to get some good birds. I'm still missing my Combretum woodland species, things like southern black tits and eramomelas, crombecs, chin spot batis. So I'm hoping to find a nice bird party in this area. Cisticulars. Morning, Charles. Charles is wondering, are white-necked ravens common or rare? They're actually quite rare. You find them, they're more common amongst areas of human habitation because we're such messy creatures. It's much easier for them to scavenge around there, and also along the main highways through the country. Now I think I'm going to slowly make my way towards Chitwa Dam. I want to see how full that is after the rain, and maybe pick up a few bird species we haven't seen yet. Definitely going to be checking a lot of the pans a little bit later, see if we can get some aquatic birds. But for now we're on the hunt for a bird party. Craig is of course a party animal, so he likes parties, don't you, Craig?
Yeah.
There we go. The man of many words, Batman. Now, Karula is still fast asleep in the tree, and the cubs are sleeping in a thicket where they are barely visible. So maybe we'll go back there a little bit later, or maybe Jamie will, but for the moment they are very flat cats. Now my ears are peeled. Listening for any sign of birds, and I know Jamie was chatting about the loudest bird earlier, and I think it's probably the hardy-dar ibis, to be honest, or arrow-marked babblers. I suppose that's more constant noise. And I know Stef challenged Jamie to find a flamingo. Believe it or not, I've actually seen a flamingo in the Sabi Sands. Obviously one got a little bit lost while it was on its way somewhere else, because up on the high veld, not too far as the crow flies, probably 150 kilometers, you get big flocks of flamingos seasonally. Also to the east in Mozambique along the coast, we also get big flocks of flamingos, so it's always possible a lost flamingo might arrive. I've been coming into this area quite a few times. Also, there was that mating pair of lions that was actually further to the east, but we haven't seen them. But it has been very quiet. The grass up in this area has got very long very quickly. And I always like to check this area because it's also one of Tingana's favorite routes. And he often comes in from Torchwood down this very road. Now, speaking about flamingos and Jamie, let's go see if she's managed to find one.
No flamingos, I'm afraid. I've tried and tried, but no flamingos. And I have to warn you that I think the possibility of us finding a flamingo is probably about as high as Stef finding it. No, it's actually probably not even as high as the probability of Stef finding a honey badger on foot. But we can try, Dave. We can try. Stef suggesting that perhaps I just need to be better. Fair enough, Stef. Fair enough. I did, however, manage to find our elephant. That's what I've been trying to track down. I have to confess, I actually haven't been looking for the flamingos. I've been looking for an elephant. And I found it. And quite possibly them. Plural. But unfortunately in such dense vegetation that all I could see was the top of one head. So what I'm trying to do is loop around to see whether perhaps the rest of the herd is somewhere in this area and whether or not we might get a slightly better view of them. But so far, we've been almost as unlucky with our elephants as we have with our flamingos. We used to see flamingos quite regularly where I used to work, which isn't that far away from here. That's a hyena. Then we do ostrich on Djuma. But you could see them. And then there's certain parts of the Kruger that you go to that you're almost guaranteed to see an ostrich. So they are around. They're just not necessarily within the areas that we traverse and that we travel in. They're fascinating birds. One of the creatures responsible for terrorizing me as a child. Somehow you always, when you are on holiday in South Africa, not always, but you often find habituated ostriches. A habituated ostrich is a terrifying, terrifying thing. They can kick very powerfully, they can be scary. I remember once sitting on top of a hill looking down on the holiday house that my parents were staying in. I'd gone off on a hike. And my little brother must have been 4, maybe even a little bit younger, and I could see him wandering around one corner of the house and the ostrich wandering around the other corner of the house, and I was sitting on the top of the hill and there was nothing I could do. There were just these two little blobs bound to encounter each other, and then the two little blobs encountered each other and the one little blob went scurrying back inside. And I'll leave you to work out which little blob that was. I also vividly remember he went through a stage where he would only eat white bread. That was all he would eat. White bread and butter. You know how kids sometimes go through that fussy stage? My brother, not the ostrich. And I remember him vividly standing on the veranda with a piece of bread and an ostrich head just coming up over the side of the balcony and plucking it out of his hand. The expression of sheer horror on his face. Shame, my brother didn't have the best luck. He got thrown by a warthog when he was about 2. He was still in nappies, so he was really tiny. I think he'd only just started walking. And he got thrown into the air by a warthog. And subsequent to that, every Kruger trip that we did until he was roughly 17 years old, every time we drove past a group of warthog, we had to shut the car window in case they decided to come launching in just to throw him into the air again. Warthog also took his Mari biscuit. And my brother really hasn't had the best luck in terms of wild animal encounters. I was the one who regularly got chased and attacked by monkeys and baboons, though. That seemed to happen to me quite a lot. Oh, Jigger, you are so bumpy. Let's see if these elephants have popped out on this road. They're somewhere in here. And it's the same elephant that I heard feeding while we were at the hyena den. Lots of fresh tracks, lots of fresh dung. I know where they are, we just can't see them. So while I go searching for our elephants, let's go across to Stef, who's found something with more legs than a honey badger.
No, Jamie, you don't need to look for an elephant, you need to look for a 2-legged bird, pink, called a flamingo. Wades around shallow water looking for algae and shrimp. Now, we are looking at a drainage line, and I know while nothing too exciting, this is what the seaplants eventually drain into, a drainage line, and in the bottom of this drainage line some water, and in the water is a spider, one of the wolf spiders that is specifically adapted to hunting on water and will prey upon insects that fall in the water and live in the water, things like tadpoles and baby fish and things like that. But we've also got quite an interesting array of different things to show you right here. In a nest that she's spun for herself is another type of wolf spider or lynx spider protecting her eggs. So this particular spider has gone and sewn herself a cocoon and is holding on to her eggs. Isn't that amazing? Now, one of the reasons why animals, in particular insects, will guard their eggs is the eggs and the young growing inside the eggs are preyed upon by a whole variety of different insects. And this mommy spider will be able to fend her eggs off, or be able to fend her eggs against wasps, parasitic wasps and flies, which will like nothing more than to lay their eggs on the developing young of this young spider and save them by the larvae of them. Just have a look at that. Isn't she the most amazing colors as well? I don't know what spider this is, but very pretty. I love that russet brown color that she's got on her cephalothorax and across her abdomen, dots on the top, and that white stripe that extends from her eyes all the way around the edge of her body. Now, spiders of course have 8 legs. She's got all 8 of hers still. She's in good health. Nice fat abdomen. She's had a good season so far. So a nice healthy mom looking after her healthy eggs, hopefully. And young spiderlings. Very cool. Now, we've got a lot of other things around this particular crossing to show you as well. And this is where we wanted to come today. The rocky outcrop is there. That is granite. That is the underlying rock in this part of the Sabi sand. That is a very, very old granite. And in that particular form is very weathered, and it's what gives us the white roads and the white dust that we have here at the end of the dry season. The dusty haze is coming from this rock turning into powder, and what grows on it is incredible. I come here because of a very particular plant called Hemizygia. We found a couple of it before. Let me pick one with a flower for you. It only grows on these rocky areas. Have a look how pretty that flower is there. But what the best thing about this flower is its smell. It smells when you first pick it like a coconut drink we get in this country called Malibu. It's horrendous. I don't like it at all. And then as you crush it, it changes from Malibu, the coconut liqueur, to a Thai green curry, and the most unbelievably awesome smell. Oh yeah, that's what you want. You want this stuck in your nostril for a bit. But it's also given us the opportunity to look at some tracks, because this particular area, it's nice and thick everywhere, and a lot of animals have come to this crossing not only to get a drink but also to cross. So we have, let's start off with the one here. We've got a jackal. There is a jackal, and I know that because I can take on the back foot, I can take a piece of grass and I can separate the front 2 toes from the next outside 2 toes from the back of the pad, and I can draw a cross through the front foot without touching any of the toes. So that is how we tell jackal tracks. So that was probably a side striped jackal. I haven't seen or heard of black-backed jackals here in quite some time, but a side striped jackal came through here. What else has come through here? We've got a genet. Let me show you a genet if I can get a nice track. Oh, we've got a terrapin. So this track here is a terrapin. The left feet of the terrapin and the right feet of the terrapin with its little claws, and it's come through here. The jackal has of course walked on top of that, and then this is the genet. That is back foot and front foot walking on top of one another. It's called registering. We have some impala and a hippo. Look at this massive track from a hippopotamus. So what's obvious is the smell, but because you can't smell it, the dung that has been sprayed everywhere here, and then when we turn around and we have a look, we've got these massive feet with their 4 toes. This is a massive hippopotamus foot with 1 toe, 2 toes, 3 toes and 4 toes, and the back of the pad there, and you can see the nice fleshy part of the bottom of the foot. hippo feet feel very similar to your feet at the bottom, albeit with a few more calluses on the bottom, but very similar. They're soft-footed, they don't have a hoof, and they also don't register any toenails at all. You can see this hippo walked off down there and went off to go and have their dinner. They're nocturnal primarily, so they come out at night time, and this hippo would have been going from one area to another, feeding on the soft grass in this area. Awesome, nice crossing. And here's some more of that granite, and we're going to be climbing up now, up onto that ridge there in the background where we have those marula trees. I don't expect to find any more of these rocky outcroppings, but it's nice to know that they are basically just lying underneath the surface over here, and there's a whole bunch of plant communities that grow on it. Foster, you've asked me, do the roads need rehabilitating after the deluge? Yes, road maintenance here is a constant, and in particular after we've had some heavy rains like we've had, you can just see that this road has become very close to impassable with a car without damaging the road further. So this road will be closed, hence there being no tracks down there barring our footprints, Brian's enormous footprints that you can see over there, almost as big as a hippopotamus's. And yes, we will then start the road maintenance. Road maintenance is done between game drives here, so between 9 o'clock and say 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they can only do a small portion of every road here every day. As you can imagine, there's, I would imagine close to hundreds of miles of roads out here, and as soon as you finish the last road, you'll have to go back to the first road again and go and do some more road maintenance on those areas as well. All right. Now, I hope Jamie has found that flamingo that I've tasked her with. She seems to have found something that she was looking for, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that's that elephant. Anyway, enjoy that. We'll catch up with you later.
Come on! Come on! I know you want to do it again. Come on, boy. Walk away. You've got a friend to go play with. Go play with him. Come on. Sorry, everybody. He's going to turn around and do it again. He came a little bit too fast for my liking. We found our elephant. Can I switch off my engine now, my boy? Or are you going to come and do this again? Hey? You're not even in must. Come on. Yeah. Okay, my boy. Okay, see, we're all relaxed now. We're all relaxed now. Except you're not. You want to do it again. I can see you do. Sorry, everybody. I can't drive away from him now. If I do, he's going to chase us down the road. Can't obviously go through him. So we're just going to have to sit this one out. He's going to turn around and do it to us again, Dave. Just so you know. And here we go again. Don't do it, please. You've got a buddy to go play with. See this trunk curling, resting on his tusks? It's all displaying behavior. And he had us at a bit of a disadvantage because we came around the corner and he just came for us. Hey? I hear you, boy. I will go. I will back off, I promise, but I can't do it now. So you and I have got to give each other some space. Okay. Okay. No. No. Come on, my boy. I promise you I'll back up soon. I won't follow you, but you just got to give me the space to do it. Yeah. Calm down. There we go. Hey? What was that all about? Hey, temper tantrum? I wasn't even going that fast. You saw me coming from ages away. Why have you got to be like this? Yes, sniff the ground. Sniff the ground and let us both pretend like you're distracted when I know you're not. And the twisting and curling of the trunk. It's all displacement behavior. He's going to do it again. He's going to give us at least one last head shake before he walks away. In that sort of defiant way. As if to say, yeah, I'm leaving because I want to, not because you made me. You come on, boy. What on earth was that all about? You came from far away. Okay. Yeah. Here comes your buddy. Go play with him. Don't you come and start now. Look, he's having his breakfast. Why can't you have your breakfast? Go have your breakfast. Oh. And you released gas in our direction to add insult to injury. These two have been scrapping. That's why he's so foul-tempered. Come on, boy. Well, we found our elephants. Slightly larger than a flamingo. And you don't have any excuses because you're not hot and you're not in must. I read you want to know what the wet patches are around his belly and his legs. He's been mud bathing. I saw their tracks earlier from when they went into the mud puddles. Come on, there's a nice friend for you to go play with. Go play with him. Come on. Come on. Come on, boy. Come on, boy. Rocking backwards and forwards. So he's been playing in the mud with his buddy. Come on, my boy. Come on. Hey, go do it to Brent. He's got the VR. We're still at this impasse. One of the other things we don't want to teach our elephants is that by behaving like this, they can have fun with the vehicles. They can come and chase them. Because next thing you get somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, who's just innocently driving along the road, and all of a sudden you have a problem because they don't know how to behave. And we don't want to teach them that because then they become problem elephants. And that's not something that we want. See, his trunk's still curled over his tusk. He's still threatening us and he's talking. He's rumbling. What's got you in such a bad mood? Don't back into me either. Okay. Very twisty turn behind me. That is going to be very difficult to do rapidly in reverse. Ah. Helicopter. Is that what's got you upset? Hey? Is that what's upset you? I'm not 100% convinced you're eating that tree either. Where's that helicopter and is it coming in this direction? Ellies don't like helicopters. It is one of those things. And the loud buzzing noise, much louder than our drone, for example, and especially if they're doing a census or a count, which they have to do, so it's nobody's fault, but it does have a tendency to put elephants on edge. Please don't even begin to think you've got me fooled, mister. You're okay. You on the right. You're enjoying your breakfast. But you are not in any way interested in that russet bush willow, so let's both drop the pretense, huh? So bulls often do this. They throw their weight around, quite literally. And Rachel, there you go. You want to know if the elephant saw the car as a threat or if he's just showing off. He's showing off. I'm sorry, I'm not going to look back at you at the moment. I'm going to watch him because I feel as though any moment he's going to turn. So, forgive me. I'm going to just keep watching him. Rachel, I don't think he saw us in a threat at all. He just decided, we were coming around the corner, he's probably been battling with this other boy, and he just decided he needed to prove a point. Bull elephants do that. Female elephants, it is a slightly different approach. They're being protective of their herd. They want to make sure that you know not to push into their personal space boundaries. If this had been a cow, I'd still be behaving the same way, but I would be trying to get some space, a little bit more space between us almost immediately, because she's less likely to chase me if I'm just moving away from her family. As long as I'm showing that I don't want to be a threat to her, that I want to move away from her herd, then she'll interpret that behavior. And generally the female's less full of nonsense than the males. She's not likely to come charging down the road after me. Now I'm trying to tell him now by talking in a low tone that it's okay. I hear his message. I'm not going to come any closer, but at the same time he's not going to intimidate me. Now he's going to show me how big and strong he is, Dave. He's going to push over a tree. He's not an old bull, but he's not young either. And I'm sorry, that's a very profound sentence. What I mean by that is he's not young enough to sort of be insecure. Often the younger insecure bulls play around with us, but they're very easily intimidated. And the older bulls tend not to be full of nonsense at all. They've become sedate in their older age. But he's just reaching the age where his must cycles are going to hit him fully. Alright, I'm going to let my Ellie bull slowly move off. There we go. Good boy. Meantime, shock and horror, Stef is being charged by something very tiny.
Shock and horror. We're being charged by, well, you being charged by the tiniest giant land snail I have ever seen. That is about as small a giant land snail as you're likely to get. I don't know what they look like when they're smaller than that. I mean, they must get smaller than that. Obviously, they are laid in eggs that are about 100th the size of this particular individual, but you don't ever see them. But just have a look at this amazing thing. To give you an idea of how small this actually is, I'm going to be putting a land snail shell next to it. I carry around a land snail shell. That is what this land snail will turn into. Isn't that amazing? That's cool, eh? Just look at the colors. So when they get really old, they almost their shells almost become white. The vegetation that they move through keeps their shells scoured. And this particular one, they're quite often killed by the larvae of fireflies, prey on giant land snails, and I suppose that the majority of these poor fireflies never get past this stage. In actual fact, a lot of the adults are killed by firefly larvae. It's what we find lying around. It's why we find so many of their shells lying around. It just gives you a really unique view there. Let me put it at the back so you can see what Big Brother looked like. Orientated the same. Amazing, huh? Obviously quite long-lived. They don't only live for 1 year, which a lot of insects out here do live for. I seem to remember them living for about 5 years and getting bigger all the time, eating vegetation, mainly eating fungus. And then, yeah, Dina just said that the snail has something to aspire to now. Dina, I must agree with you 100%. Give him some, why you must eat your greens. Some inspiration. So yeah, this poor little snail literally has been going across the road here for how long now, Brian? 20 minutes? It's taken easily 20 minutes to get from one side of the road to the other. So not a very fast moving snail. I have to pick up its speed a little bit. Adult snails will do probably the same distance in a quarter of the time. They can actually move considerable distances in a day, adult snails, but not these youngsters. just nice to see. We thought that we'd show you that particular snail. It's not every day we get to see small snails like that. We're still on our journey up to the top of the crest. We haven't moved far whatsoever. In actual fact, since you last saw us, we haven't even moved 100 yards down the road. Just there was where we showed you all those tracks in the dip, and just there is the trees that we showed you we were going to head towards. So we're nicely in the middle of the hill, not making much progress today whatsoever, getting sidetracked by everything and sundry. And it's really nice because obviously the rain has had a dramatic effect on the bush and the life in the bush around us. I've chosen not to walk through the grass today. I've had quite enough of ticks and tick bites for one day. I thought I'd give myself and Brian a bit of a respite. So today we've just chosen to walk on the road. And it's a novel thing. I hate walking on the roads, to be honest. 99% of my walks will be done almost entirely in the middle of big blocks of bush, and it's because we can get to anywhere on the roads with cars relatively easily. This is another one of those flowers that I quite enjoy. Now, Skip, who's only 11 and wanted to know about the snail, I'm going to just quickly show you this flower. Don't go anywhere. I know your attention spans are not as long as what it needs to be just yet. So Skip, addressing this flower directly to you. This is snail food. Not really, but it is snail food, and it's an evolvus and one of my favorite flowers out here. But I'm going to answer your question anyway about what that snail is. You've asked, will the snail shell grow with the snail? Will they have to change shells? Very similar to, I suppose, our with that snail throughout its life. So it doesn't come out of its shell and go find a bigger shell whatsoever. It generates the ability to make the shell bigger with the food that it eats. So it extracts calcium and, well, I don't know what it extracts from its food, but it extracts enough nutrients to make calcium carbonate, and that then gets layered on the shell. So it'll be one layer upon another layer upon another layer, which will then grow that shell to the size that it needs to be when it's a fully grown adult, which, as you saw from that comparison there, was many tens of times bigger than what that particular snail is. So yeah, just the food that it eats. Very similar how over the next couple of years, being 11 now, between the next 8 years or 9 years, you're probably going to double in size as well, and all just taken from the food that you eat. So make sure that you eat healthy things and you will grow nice and healthy. I suppose that's my parenting tip 101 for you for the day. I'll stop that now. Still busy battling with the flies here, it's insane. Of course, with the wet weather comes the emergence of the flies, and with the lack of enough spider webs out here, then their numbers are definitely not reducing whatsoever, increasing as we go along exponentially. Alright, we are going to head now finally to the top of the hill and see what's up there. In the meantime, we're going to send you over to Brent.
Well, we've also got something that's on top of a marula tree. Now, this is not Karula, Hosana, or Shongile. Let's see how good you guys are today. Can you guess who this leopard is? Hashtag Safari Live. Which leopard is this up in a marula tree with a full belly, panting heavily? Who are you? Hashtag Safari Live. I'm not going to tell you where I am either, because that might give it away. Definitely look like they've had a meal recently. Oh, it's a tired kitty. Who is going to be the first and fastest? Aaron has guessed quarantine. Well, Aaron, it's not. It's a lady leopard. Quite high in the marula tree above us. Oh, well done, Crystal. Crystal has indeed got it right first. This is Thandi, Karula's oldest daughter. And if we look to a marula tree... Oh, she's moving. And James Richard also got it right. Well done. If we look off to our left, there is another marula tree. And there is another cat in the marula tree. And that is, of course, Thamba. Her cub in that tree there. You can just see them in the shade. So they must have eaten something overnight and now they are relaxing high up in the boughs of a marula tree. And we're just to the east of the Chitwa airstrip. Now it's going to be quite hot today. Look, there he is. Hello, little man. Isn't it wonderful? So our cameras have got incredible zoom. It's about 1,200 mils, I think. So we're still quite far from little Thamba, but we can see him quite clearly from here. Is he coming down or is he snoozing? I think he's snoozing. He's got a nice shady spot in that big marula. ML is wondering how long leopards live to adulthood. Well, once they get to a year, their mortality rate drops immensely. So while they're from cubs, from being born to a year, their mortality rate's around 75% in this area. But once they get over a year, that mortality rate drops exponentially, and only then again increases once they get very old. And out of the known mortalities in the Sabi Sands, about 75% of the mortalities are from dispersal male leopards. So male leopards kill more leopard cubs than anything else, more than hyenas, more than lions, more than wild dogs. They do have some interesting predators that you don't see or hear about too often. Pythons, sometimes jackal, are also predators of leopards. And there we go, look at that. She is having a lovely little snooze. I don't think she's going to be going anywhere. And I actually came across to Chitwa to show you the dam because it is ridiculously full. But then I heard Thandi was here, so I couldn't resist going for leopard number 5 of the morning. Well, as I said, they're going to snooze, but we'll definitely come back to check on them on the sunset safari. But in the meantime, I'm going to start heading back towards the Chitwa Dam because it is incredibly full. While we do that, Jamie's got an arachnid.
Oh, this looks like the stuff of nightmares. It's actually one of the most gorgeous spiders that we get out here, and I simply had to show you this absolutely massive specimen of this golden orb spider. Ooh, be careful, male golden orb. There's the male, giving us a really nice perspective as to the scale of the male versus the female. The male's obviously the tiny little one, just in front of her abdomen, just on top of her abdomen on the other side of the web, for which I imagine this particular male is feeling quite grateful for that little extra protection. So that is the male golden orb spider, that is the female. Isn't she gorgeous in her own way? Now, this is a particular type of spider that has been responsible for a number of guests that I've almost lost on the basis that they have tried to jump out of the car when a spider's fallen into the car with them. And I suppose you can kind of understand why. To give you a sense of scale, he is roughly the size of my thumbnail. She is the size, she's bigger than my palm. She's absolutely massive. And I just had to show you because she's so pretty. Obviously, I left that elephant bull because he clearly wasn't happy with us. I think that we didn't have to read between the lines to see that. So I've just let him get on with his morning. He wandered off, by the way. So there you go, Stanley. You were asking about what other females are larger than the males in animals. And it's quite common in insect species, and of course particularly with spiders, that you find that the female is much, much, much larger than the male. Birds of prey as well. And I've actually quite a few bird species. You'll find that there's quite a size difference between the male and the female, but none as pronounced as you see it in the insect world, particularly with spiders. Now, he's got to be so careful. He's got to play her, if he's intent on mating with her, he's got to play a very gentle tune. Oh my goodness, that's risky. On the web before he mates with her, so that she doesn't think that he is food. And I've seen many a male golden orb spider parachute out of the web when a female golden orb has gone in their direction. They don't like to stick around. If they do manage to mate with her, there's still a chance that he could become her next meal. She doesn't seem too intent on chasing him, and that's because Dave and myself just watched her devour something in her web. So he's managed to make a lucky escape. Now, those of you who are keen-eyed will see one of my favorite spiders off to the right. There we go. Look over there, and down a little bit to the right, Dave. There's a really nice example. There we go. Oh. Okay, that's just a piece of gunk in the web, but to the left you'll see, and above it, you'll see there are 2 dewdrop spiders, kleptoparasites. And they're such beautiful little spiders. They look like little drops of mercury. And they'll hang around and steal any little scraps of food that they can. Look at it going down. How gorgeous are they? They're definitely one of my favorite. Oh, Rachel, you want to know while we watch our golden orb spider moves in a somewhat sinister way, you want to know how the mating actually even works. Well, one of the things that will often happen is, as I said, the males will play a little tune for her on the web. Some species of spiders tap out a rhythm on the ground. Oh, be careful, little dewdrop spider. They'll tap out a rhythm on the ground, basically for... Sorry, I'm distracted by this dewdrop spider. Basically for the female to know his intentions and not to eat him. So they don't... the mating doesn't occur with the genitals being rubbed together. Instead, what usually happens with spider species, if I remember correctly, is they transfer their sperm onto pedipalps and then from there transfer it into the female's genital opening. So there's a sort of an intermediary stage. He uses his pedipalps and legs in front to transfer the sperm. And even then, he might become her meal. Now, once she's mated with him, he's done his job, and now he might as well provide some extra nutrients for her egg-laying. I think he's kind of thinking about wanting to mate with her, you know. He keeps coming back. So there you go, Red. Spiders will eat their own kind. Females often eat the males. That's, of course, where the black widow reputation comes from. Females of the black widow spiders and recluse spiders as well, eating their mates after mating. And of course that's given rise to stories of women of that kind of persuasion who end up killing their husbands for financial gain. That's where the name black widow comes from. Well, that's where the expression or term black widow comes from. As to whether or not a spider would devour another spider of the same species outside of that scenario, yes, probably. If another golden orb spider were to accidentally stray into her area, and if it was small, and she might actually eat it. They're not exactly known for their mothering skills either. It's very much a sort of, the eggs are laid and off the spider goes, and the little ones just have to fend for themselves. There's some exceptions to that, as we saw with that female baboon spider on the dam wall. She kept her babies around her for a while. She's cleaning her face with her pedipalps. That's what the pedipalps are, by the way. There you go, those 2 sort of almost feeler-like things in the front of her body. She's cleaning her jaws after whatever she ate. It's a beautiful structure, her golden orb web. And you can see where they get the name golden orb. It's not just from their colouring, it's actually from the colouring of the strands of the silk that they lay down. Especially in this morning light, it looks gold. Let's go over to Brent, he's got a bird for you.
Look at this, it's a grey-headed. Oh, we just stopped for a second just so we could see him. Oh, that was good luck. That was a grey-headed kingfisher. That is a really good species. I'm very happy. That is the bird of the morning so far, and another one for the list. Now, I was on my way to Chitwa Dam to show you how full it was when that kingfisher just appeared. Is he going to make another appearance? No. We got some Impala around here, but unfortunately he's just on the southern side of a gremlin dip, and that we need to get to the dam wall. Hello, Impalas. You're looking very happy. Lots of lovely greenery around to feed on. Now, we're going to leave these Impalas to munch along. Thandi's not too far away, but while we do that, we're going to go see if we can find Vlad the Impala, some hippopotamus, maybe some new bird species for the list at the Chitwa Dam. While we do that, let's see how Stef's romping around on foot is going.
This is one of the very few apple leaves, large apple leaves that we get around this particular area, and I'm busy romping around out here admiring this. I love visiting large trees, and this is one of the trees that you just got to come and pay homage to when you hear these big trees. So this is called an apple leaf because when you take one of its big leaves and you hold it close to your ear, or in your case my microphone, it sounds like you're biting into an apple. Listen here. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. There we go. So that's an apple leaf. It's also called a rain tree. It gets infested by a bug called a spittle bug, which sucks the sap out of the branches. But because the sap is relatively unnutritious, it needs to suck a large amount of sap to get the sugars that it needs, and it exudes the excess water that it has as a type of foam, which it uses to keep itself hydrated and protect itself from being preyed upon. But it starts to drip from the tree, and so in some years, not every year, you can stand underneath this tree and you can get rained on. So the rain tree, you can also use slivers of the bark as a very effective fish poison. So you can harvest this bark and cut it into strips and chuck it into a pan with some fish in it, and it basically poisons the water to a point where you can harvest the fish. The poison that kills the fish does not harm humans, as far as I know, as long as we cook the fish first. So you can boil the fish or fry it up and it'll get rid of the toxin, and so you can use it as an effective fish poison. And then there's also the fact that you can make a lot of interesting things from the wood. So a very handy wood to use. It doesn't splinter easily. And while I finish that story, I just want to have a look at this helicopter. Well, not have a look at the helicopter, but there's a helicopter flying over there. That is the Kruger National Park's helicopter. You can see the distinctive coloration on it, the yellow and the green. And that helicopter is a very busy machine in a park that is 500 kilometers long, so 350 miles long by about 100 miles wide. That helicopter flies around pretty much every day, and for any number of different reasons. So just the fact that we're seeing it around is not too much of a cause of concern, except that the elephant in the area, as Jamie was mentioning a little bit earlier, tend to get a bit nervous around it for whatever reason. But back to the rain tree. So the wood inside here gets used to make spoons and bowls and a bunch of different things. It's got this lovely yellowy color. One of the best trees out here. Nice smooth bark. See, this one in particular has been used as a rubbing post. You can see here, you come around here, so this discoloration, that's some bark that's been rubbed off, and if you follow the discoloration up, you can see on any prominent knob there's some more discoloration, and then the telltale mud on the actual scratching post. So this was obviously for an elephant at this height and would have been used to scratch, in particular behind the ears or on the neck. Very cool. Now, talking about mud, Brent is waiting at Chitwa Dam with an update for you. See you later.
Well, we've got another new bird species, one I've never seen on Safari Live before, and it's definitely come here since the Chitwa dam has become really full. It is a Reb-knob Coot. So let's see, it's quite relaxed. We might be able to get a bit closer, but we will show you how full the water hole is now. I mean, it is incredibly full. Hello, Reb-knob Coot. So we were hoping that the water was going to bring us some new species, and indeed it has. So here we go, Reb-knob Coot. I mean, we've been quite lucky. We've got a whole bunch of species on our list that are not the common ones. We haven't really focused on some of the common bird species, so I think we might definitely get to that magical number 100 before the 12th. Who knows, we could get well over it. Very, very cool. So an aquatic bird, they actually build nests out of water reeds and lay their eggs out in the water. And I'm surprised there's only one. Normally there'd be more, and they're quite noisy. They sort of honk along. And this looks like a female because the red on the top of its head isn't too prominent yet. Hey, Coot. You're a cute Coot. Now, if Craig zooms out, you will see how full this is. It is incredible. I mean, the water used to stop over there. Oh, well done, Dina. The Reb-knob Coot, 199 on her list. Now, there's... Oh, there he goes. Now we want to see it land, put out the landing feet, and they ski to a stop. There we go, running to a stop. Well done, lovely camera work, Craig. Here we go. Now there was something else very interesting that we saw when we came past here on our way to Thandi, and we're going to head towards there now. So as it progresses with the water, we're probably going to start seeing a few more species. As a lot of the water weed starts to grow, we might get some crakes back here, black crakes, not corn crakes. They prefer damp grassland. Now we did see a Vlad when we were on our way across, but with this water, the dam wall actually is overflowing, so there's a spillway the dam does get too full. So this is as full as it gets. So there's a spillway that comes out to ensure the dam doesn't break. And we noticed that the fish eagle's been very busy. And I'm just going to do this here. Oh, African pied wagtail. Nice, Craig. Craig, you're on fire today. Here we go, a pair of African pied wagtails. That's another one for the list. There you go, see it wagging its tail. And we can barely see the hippos at the moment because the water is so full. Lovely. Now, what I really wanted to show you at this end here, and I'm going to have to get out of the car. Let me just roll forward a little bit. Is some catfish. Now, I'm pretty sure this one has escaped a fish eagle, but it's still quite wounded now. This could be slightly amusing. I better make sure my mic pack is not going to fall out while I...
Yep, you know, sometimes when we come to you out of the middle of the bush like we're doing at the moment, every now and again we just lose that signal, going behind a bush, bending over, getting a piece of cloud between us and a satellite. You know how it goes. And we just have to say thank you very much for your patience and not going anywhere. And you stuck with me for the next couple of seconds while we wait for Brent's signal to come back so you can see what the outcome of his catfish fishing escapade was like. And knowing Brent and the type of competitive fisherman he is, I have no doubt that he'll probably have caught that thing by any means necessary. It's just been such an epic walk today, to be honest with you. It's been relatively cool. There's a nice breeze blowing with all the humidity in the air, at least when the sun's not shining. It feels like you're in a cold sauna, if there is such a thing. Lots of steam billowing in your face, just one of these absolutely thick-aired summer days. I reminisce quite often about February throughout the year, and February is today for me. It's the humidity and this thick carpet of green that you see, and just the vibrancy of life. Today's walking safari for me epitomizes my favorite time of the year. In February, I know it's March, but we have had a little bit of late rains, but this very humid, lots of big billowy clouds, the opportunity for a thunder shower, air so thick you can basically spoon it into your mouth, and then this green vibrancy, which is just what we have at the moment. This is exactly what I look forward to the whole year, and it's just nice to revel and celebrate it, that's for sure. Alright, now I think it's time for us to come and have a look and see what else we can see around here. This is a late season bloomer. This is the Arathusa, or the wild foxglove. It's not a real foxglove like you get in Europe that contains all of the toxins. This is its common name is a foxglove, but it's not really. It's a Arathusa, and forms a nice spinach. It tastes almost exactly the same as a peanut butter sandwich. And there's breakfast looming on the horizon. Having a little bit of a snack that we haven't managed to have since 4 o'clock this morning is a bonus. Right, we're going to quick link to Jamie, who's found a flamingo, which makes me want to grit my teeth.
Can you believe it? We've got a rare sighting of the bird we've been talking about all morning. I'm going to approach nice and slowly. We've been called in to let us know that there is this extraordinary sighting on Djuma. And there it is, Dave. Do you see it? Do you see it sitting completely outside of its natural habitat because I didn't want to get it wet? There we go, our flamingo. Stef, where's our honey badger now? I have to thank Val and Valerie and Velma for helping us out with this particular little special sighting for us to finish off our sunrise safari. I'm sorry, Steph, it was just too tempting. The FC Flamingo just had to come out and pay a visit. Oh, poor Steph. Dave, isn't this incredible? Look at its pink colour, obtained from the pigments of feeding off the shrimp that they sift from the water. That, of course, is why it is pink. It has absolutely nothing to do with a synthetic dye or anything of the sort. And look, it's even using 2 legs and it's waving hello. This is truly an extraordinary flamingo sighting. A greater flamingo. All the way from where they were last seen on Londolozi. They were actually seen on Londolozi, and it's paid a very special visit to a Djuma termite mound. From an extraordinary bird sighting, let's go and find out what on earth Brent is planning on doing next.
So, I've got my shoes off. I was actually trying to catch a catfish in this swampy area here, so they've come out of the dam to take advantage of all the frogs and other insects that are going to be in this inundated grass. This one, however, didn't get so lucky. It was too big for the fish eagle. This one looks, see, there we go. Oh, it's still alive even with that massive wound. It's just not very well. See, look at that. That's a fish eagle that's attacked this one. Shame. Now, they actually can often survive from things like that, but I think if he keeps sitting out here in the open, the fish eagle's going to get him. Now the other thing is, if we look just here, this is just under the water here. There's a whole bunch more. Out of my toes. Now, they have the incredible ability to walk over 10-15 kilometers between water sources during the dry season. And the other thing they do is when the inundated grass happens. Oh, this one's also been attacked by a fish eagle. Oh, under my toe. Okay, should I grab it, Craig? Okay, just to show you. Now they're able to breathe air. Where'd they gone? Let's try and get them into a spot where I can... Oh, there's lots. Oh, they're on my feet. Who would think? I can't catch it. Oh, I'm standing on them. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to show you quickly because you never really get to see these things too carefully. This one's been attacked by, fish eagle as well. The fish eagles have just basically attacked all of these in the shallows. Now, as I said, they're quite scary creatures, quite prehistoric, but they are able to survive, although I don't think these ones are. I think these are basically a fish eagle sort of pet spot at the moment. Shame. But definitely not something we get to see every day. Now, also sometimes at this time of the year, they will en masse in their hundreds of thousands in grass like this along the edge, and you just hear them, and that's when they're breeding. Oh. Well, I'm not sure how much time we've got left, but it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the safari with us. And fortunately for me, I didn't fall in the water. I thought I might. That's why I tucked in my mic pack, took off my shoes, made sure everything that was going to get wet couldn't get wet. And maybe I'll come back and try catch a lively one in the grasses there. But yes, see, look at them walking. These guys are trying to get back to the dam. See, they're trying to get back to the dam. Look at that. So that's how they cross. That's how they get across land, and they'll normally do it at night when it's very, very cool. I think these guys will easily make it back to the dam. As I said, they are able to breathe air. Look at them go. So from all of us here at Safari Live and the catfish trying to escape from the fish eagle's pond, it's been splendid. 5 leopards, look at them go! Look at them go! And from the catfish flopping around, and from all of us, it's been amazing. See you this afternoon.